Today, we will be discussing how reading can broaden your mind and horizons.
Really important topic for me. Welcome to Talk to Us Today. I'm Simran. And as many of you already know, I'm an avid reader. My earliest memories of books that I got goes back to elementary school in Edmonton. I must have been in grade 2 or 3, so maybe 6, 7 years old. And our school had a small library, even by my 6-year-old standards, right? But there was a rating program that had started and was going to select the best reader of the city. There must have been many categories and criteria. This is my earliest memory. I was obviously reading before this. So I have no idea about what the criteria were today. But I had to take some books home and every week read them and write their names down on a log. I remember I can visualize this log, like construction paper,
Wow.
badly photocopied stuff with the name and the signature of the parent. So I took this home and I must have taken like 6, 7 books home. And of course, they're tiny, like these reading books for kids. And I went home and I sat down and I finished them all. And my mom, she looked at them. She's like, she was supposed to quiz them, or she was one of the ones who was quizzing me. Have you read this? And I remember her looking at me like, okay, you've read all. And I'm like, yes. And then started my love of books. And I did win Reader of the Year award. I don't remember what year, 1970 something. And I was 6, 7 years old. I got a cup that I still visually remember. It must have been a beer cup like Canada back in those days, and a little teddy bear. And I remember that. And my love of books is beyond just like, something that's part of my life. There's a passion. And I believe those people when they say it's not just the reading books, but it's buying books also. But then my mother did this even more, because every weekend she would take me to the Edmonton Public Library, which even today, when I walk in, hits all my senses. My nostalgia goes up because I can smell those musty old books, the smell of the covers, the plastic covers. And I feel like I'm in heaven. Move over, Paris. You have a little competition at Edmonton Public Library.
That's really amazing, Simrat. Mine is totally different. Okay. It's the culture of reading at bedtime, or that's not been there in India when we were growing up. So there's nothing like, and reading books or storybooks was something that was not much being encouraged. So I always like to like reading. So it's for us, like, reading has to be informative. Whatever you're reading should give you some information. So it was all about academic books, this book, that book. And I used to read all those, and I used to love reading those. So one day, my grandfather, he had this old collection of Reader's Digest. So this is where my reading has come into the picture. So I just picked up, it's like whole pile of...
We've never discussed this. We've never discussed this story. Really interesting.
Yes. So it was like whole pile. I was like, oh my God, where they have been so, all these years. And it was a very, very old editions of Reader's Digest. Can you imagine? And I started reading those. I started loving. It's like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so much more. I'm learning. I'm reading something other than my academics. And I was like, okay. And then I finished all of them. Like they were like 50 copies. And I finished them in a month. And then I want more. Then I asked my mom, I need the subscription for this Reader's Digest. Earlier, it used to be subscribed, then every month, the one Reader Digest would come by mail. Yes. So that is how my reading started. And that is how I started liking reading different kinds of books. And as I grew up, so I had my own independence to explore my reading. So when I was in college, I picked up these novels and fiction, understanding fiction and non-fiction was also came much later in my life. Okay.
Yes.
So, and then I was like, okay, then I started liking them. I started reading and I started writing also something. I did write few poems when I was in college. They were like, the whole creative, side of me was coming out. I was like, wow, I was enjoying that part. I was being considered, wow, well-read. And I was like, wow, she knows something and she writes and she has that good English grammar and good vocabulary. Like, wow, I was really at top of the world. I was like, wow. So that is why.
Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad that in India we weren't you weren't encouraged to read back in those days, whereas some of our best authors, literature has come from Hindi literature. I
And
mean, India has produced some of the most amazing authors, and we're talking pre-partition, partition, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's unfortunate
And
that
unfortunately,
yeah, even today there are many families that don't encourage like non-academic reading.
exactly,
It's
it's
interesting.
very looked down upon. You know, अरे ये तो novel पढ़ रही है. Like, what novel is
Yeah, yeah.
something which is like a dirty book. You should not supposed to read. Yeah,
You think
it
it's
was.
really important.
Yeah, magazines and novels were really looked down upon by, especially the conservative families. So
Yes.
you have to पढ़ना है तो कुछ अच्छी चीजें पढ़ो, कुछ knowledgeable, पढ़ो, कुछ होना चाहिए उसमें. That was the whole thought process. So yeah, this is how I started reading, and it started a lifelong passion for me. And I have discussed earlier when what are the benefits of reading are, and from my own experience over the period of time. But today we are going to discuss how reading can truly and factually broaden your mind and broaden your horizon.
Yes. Now this is really important. So we all know the benefits of reading, but like specifically, how does your mind, like they say, read a book and it'll broaden your mindset, broaden your horizons. So according to me, number one is we can all agree that reading expands our imagination, right? When we read books, fiction or nonfiction, we're exposed to stories which explain situations we've not been in, such as traveling to space, taking a ship into the deep oceans, Treasure Island, or being stranded on an island with little people, Gulliver's Travels, and all these stories expand our imagination. We all remember the first time we read Gulliver's Travels, right? And we're like, oh my God, he was so huge. These tiny people tied him up. It taught you that even though you're small, you overcome with unity. It's really interesting. You can take back such individual stuff as long as you let your expand, not sitting there going, this doesn't look real.
Simrit, when we read Gulliver Travels, we had our own imagination about everything. And when this turned out into a movie, it's like, what? We didn't like it.
It doesn't look real.
Yeah. It's like, what? Yeah. It's like, see how different our imagination and others' imagination.
Yes, the reading does this. Here we're immersing ourselves into the stories, which seem unbelievable, impossible, but they allow our minds to get absorbed into the experience.
Right.
And it's not just the brain, but our emotions get involved as well. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And this expands our imagination.
Absolutely, Simrit. The more we imagine, the more our brain grows, which is very, very good. The more you use your brain, the bigger it becomes. So yes.
Absolutely.
And another thing is that reading gives us exposure to different perspectives. Reading exposes us to diverse opinions and beliefs and experiences. It allows to explore different viewpoints and understands the world through eyes of others. This exposure broadens their understanding of various cultures and societies and ways of life. It's like living in India most of our lives, we could have never understood or come close to understanding what an abandoned child of Vietnam War would feel until we read the book, The Dust Child, or understand what a migrant picture bride from Korea felt after getting off the ship liner in Hawaii, like in the book Honolulu. These types of books do broaden our horizons and perspectives compared to never having been exposed to such stories.
100%. And for those, and we were just discussing this, like with Gulliver's Travels, for those who say, well, a movie or a film can expose us as much, I have to respectfully disagree. The books, especially well-written books, take us into the emotions of the character, their minds, their thoughts. Many of these elements get lost in a film or on screen, to the point where we think, no, this isn't believable. This doesn't seem real. Number 3 for me is, this is an easy one, which we all know. We get knowledge acquisition from reading, right? Reading exposes individuals to a wide range of topics, ideas, perspectives. It gives them access to new information, new vocabulary, helps them understand various concepts and theories. You understand how textiles are made, how printing is made, what is your point from a tree to a book in your hand. This increases our knowledge multifold. We can't even understand how much the knowledge that we get from books can be compared to any other form.
It's like you don't even realize it. You're just gaining so much information. It's just that when in future, when you just think of it, something similar come across, then automatically you know how it happens.
And especially if you read in a language that is not your mother tongue. Now, this could be like,
Yeah.
you could come from backgrounds and read English, or you could come from English backgrounds and read Bengali or Hindi or Urdu. I mean, I'm saying, or Korean, Japanese, whatever. If it's not a mother tongue that you're reading, and you get exposed to different vocab, even when it's your mother tongue. I speak English, and it's basically more or less the language I grew up with. I won't call it my mother tongue, but it's the only language I grew up with. But I learn new words every day. I learn new vocab. I learn how the usage of, I may know the words, the usage of the language increases. And this increased knowledge broadens our understanding of the world, allowing them to see things from different angles and think critically. So I have, like, friends who are family members, and I once said, down the road, I'll see how life goes. And they're like, you're going down the road? And I started laughing, and I realized, oh, this is because you don't read, and this is not the language that you grow. And it's small things like that. And when you sit with different cultures, I think my reading, and I'm being a little like, I'm discussing myself because I only have that sample, but I've sat with people from all around the world and always felt confident because I've read about their cultures. At least I can discuss something with them. Reading offers access to vast amounts of information, cultures, religions, and a wide range of topics, whether it's nonfiction, articles, or even fiction with historical or cultural references. So reading increases readers' knowledge base and allows them to explore new subjects that they've not encountered before. And like you said, Namita, without even realizing. This knowledge contributes to a deeper understanding of the world, hence broadens your horizons.
Yeah, it's like learning without learning.
Yes.
Yeah, Simran, that's absolutely right. And there's another thing which I feel is that reading more results in higher empathy and emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And reading fiction, particularly literary works, allows individuals to step into the shoes of a characters and experience their thoughts and emotions and struggles. This develops empathy and emotional intelligence. And as a reader learn to understand and relate to the experiences and perspective of fictional characters, which can translate into increased empathy towards real life people and situations as well. Yeah. And this may be tied in, with understanding different perspective. But I think it deserves a different category because being more empathetic will always result in broadening your horizon and expanding your mindset.
100% agreed. So our takeaway today is overall reading expands individuals' mindset by providing them with new knowledge, improved language skills, cognitive stimulation. When you read, your cognition increases, empathy, critical thinking abilities, and enhanced creativity. It allows individuals to explore diverse perspectives, challenge their existing beliefs. When we believe very critically, or fanaticism or extremism in some thought process, we look at the other person's point of view and we change our mind. We develop a more open and empathetic mindset. I love the saying, and I always say it, if you don't read, you're no better off than someone who cannot read. And, that's really important.
Yeah, and also, as they say, books are your best friends, and that's not a lie. They'll always be there with you. You're never alone if you are
never bored. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So after watching our episode and subscribing to our channel, go pick up that book, dust it off, and read it for a bit. It's good for you.
Well, that's all on Talk This today. Hope you enjoyed our show today. So please do share your experiences about reading. And if it is something interesting, books or something you want us to review, we would like to do that. And we always look forward to hearing from you all. So if there's anything that you guys see that you like about our show, do let us know in the comment section, or you can email us at hello@talkthistoday.com and let your friends know where to find us.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to stay notified of our new videos every Friday at 6 p.m. Thanks for joining us on Talk to Us Today. Remember to talk about Talk to Us Today. Keep smiling, keep laughing, keep talking, keep reading. Thank you guys. See you next Friday. Bye.
Bye.